Selena, that was remarkable. It was amazing. I'll have to give your app a go, and very interested to hear about the your open APIs as well. So we're looking to make this hub a bit of a hub integrating. Did you? Fantastic. Well, we've got a lot to talk about then. So I guess, a little bit of background on myself and Conpago. So we were actually formed out of a research project from QUT, off the back of a research project out of QUT, which was all around creating a social connection for elderly individuals who are living alone and their family and friends. So it was around the project around the connected kettle. So Mackenzie and myself, saw that bit of research. We thought it was fantastic. We could both relate to it. His grandparents lived in New Zealand, mine were in Victoria, so this was something that we could really gel on. Especially is more critical for him. His grandmother was quite ill, and his mother used to have to make a phone call every morning to check in, that make sure that she was up and about and out of bed. So that's where this research from Professor Margot was fantastic, because it was an unobtrusive way to see that her grandma was up and about. So she'd get up in the morning, make a cup of tea, a light comes on in your kitchen. Really simple way of doing it. We loved that idea. We got into the QUT Blue Box Accelerator. And we managed to secure another grant from the university to help commercialise the research. During that journey, we went out and spoke to as many elderly folk as we could. And where do they hang out? They hang out in retirement villages, and they're cared for by aged care providers. And so we went, started talking to these guys, and we found that they loved that idea, they loved the concept, but a lot of them it wasn't necessarily a family member who would be their preferred connection. So they wanted to be able to just let their neighbours know that they were up and about. So, and then we sort of realised that this piece of hardware that we were developing didn't really have that capability, and so then it became a software project, so that these people could communicate with one another, and then be able to see what events and things were coming up in the community. And I guess as software tends to do, it bubbled out and developed. So so I'm starting with my grandmother. So they've moved into a retirement community, just slightly separated from where they were. They're both unable to drive now, so that is, it's quite isolating for them. In a new community, they don't know anyone there. And there's obviously events and things happening, but it's a matter of them finding out when they're on and then being reminded, is somewhat of a difficulty, actually. So, and they're not alone. So the senior population in Australia currently makes up 12%. In the next 30 years, that's expected to double, actually. That's an American stat. It's going to be even bigger here in Australia. So over 25% of the population will be over 65 by 2050. So this is, it's a huge opportunity. And governments in Australia it's been a terrifying thing, I think, for a lot. The ageing epidemic. But we've got South Australian government, they're changing the rhetoric on that now. They're calling it the ageing opportunity. So they're looking at, how can we actually benefit from this? How can we take the learnings from what's happening here in Australia in the aged care sector and make that care an export? So there's a number of initiatives at which we're working with different government operations here. How can we export the great things that we're doing here? I know there's a Royal Commission going on into aged care, but in a lot of ways, it's actually a positive, because it means that people actually care and they are looking to better the situation here. So, huge shortage of care workers nationwide in Australia, but internationally as well. Germany, UK, and then Japan. We all know about massive ageing population there. So at Conpago, we're looking to leverage technologies to help support this demographic, and also support those that support them. So we're looking to create more of a care community around elderly individuals who are living alone or geographically isolated from their family, or within a retirement living community as well. So if they've just moved in there, they don't know anyone, we've developed the Conpago suite. So we have a dashboard system for the care providers. So just a simple way for them to upload any information, things that are happening within their village or within their local community, and as well as medication reminders. Then we have the Conpago platform, just a really simple, easy to use tablet interface. with messaging services, calendar, picture sharing, and video broadcasting. So this is a big one for those that are receiving home care. They'll often be unable to attend certain events, things like this. We're able to broadcast that, whether it's a talk on gut health or any kind of fitness classes. We can broadcast that. They can watch that from home on this tablet. And we've actually got one group which is really excited about this on the Sunshine Coast. They've started taking a camera down to the bowls club for the residents that are unable to attend because they're sick on the day or they're away. So they're able to tune in from home. And that was something that's has come about just sort of through these early pilots, which we're really excited about. And then a smartphone app for family and friends. And so the idea behind that is to get the family more involved in the whole care process. So it's not mum moves into the village and you kind of wash your hands of that. They're able to see what events are coming up, and it creates a touch point there for them to be able to communicate with each other, and also to get the family to come along and improve the intergenerational interactions as well. And then down the line, looking at different sort of wearables and smart bits that we can build on to create more of a health profile around an individual, so we can track their health goals over a period of time. There's something that's been sort of showed to us recently, which wasn't something that we really thought about, but what some of the more progressive providers are doing is when someone moves into their facility, is setting goals for them. So whether maybe someone hasn't been fishing for 5 years and they want to get back into it, so they start setting these goals, and then they're able to track those goals and improve someone's health outcomes rather than just moving in there and then watching them decline. Because it doesn't matter what age you are, you still need to be working towards something, and that's something that often gets forgotten towards that demographic. So that's a cool thing, and that's something that we're working on at the moment to build into the system. So this year to make this a little bit more accessible, some people you get this up on a smart television and also just the app as well. So looking at broadening our reach, and then market opportunity. It's a B2B sales, so we are B2B to C really. So we sell the software system, and we can supply all the hardware as well to the aged care providers, and then they already have a billing arrangement with their clientele, so we can service them through that system. Retirement living is growing in Australia, but home care respite is massive as well. So there's been a big shift in the aged care model, so they're more following the NDIS scheme, so consumer-directed care, which has meant that these aged care providers have had to get a lot more innovative with what they're doing, and in turn, hopefully provide a better service for their customers. So they're more receptive to these sort of technologies now, but it has been a big push over the last couple of years, especially with real aversion to new tech. And what we found is actually a lot of it, so the residents themselves are excited about new tech. It's something new and innovative. They're keen to be a part of it, especially the pilots. But it's often the staff and people who have been working in the care sector for many years. They like the way that it just flows. They don't want to have to change or add anything more to their sort of daily schedule. So it's actually the biggest barrier for us is not the people who are going to be using their technology, but the people that think that they're going to have to create more work for themselves. So we've had some great support through Queensland Government, through the Ignite grant. That was kind of one of the things that got us off the ground, with QT Blue Box as well, and some other amazing resources here just in Queensland that have supporting the startup ecosystem. It is fantastic and great to see what's happening down here as well with the Gold Coast Innovation Hub as well. And a recent partnership with HCF is pretty exciting for us as well. So that's going to challenge our business model a bit, but we're working with them on different ways that we can supply this kind of technology to individuals independent of a care provider, so more of a B2C model, and servicing the HCF clients through that. Our ever-growing team. It's a bit of a hungry team at the moment, but we've just really focusing as much as we can on development, building that out. I've taken on Bridget just this week, so she's Customer Experience Officer. So we've got our two biggest rollouts coming up tomorrow and Thursday. So hopefully that all goes well. One on the Sunshine Coast, another one in Brisbane. And then following that, we've got a number in South Australia as well. So so far we've just been in piloting stage, but we've got some great results from that, and obviously learnt a lot, added a lot of features that have been sort of customer driven, which has been really exciting. And advisory committee, pricing model. So depending on whether people need the hardware we can supply, or it's just a simple monthly payment for access to the software itself. Distribution, covered that, so using the providers themselves as a distribution model. It can be challenging, especially trusting someone else to sell your products, but that's something that we're sort of working on as well at the moment, and overcoming those challenges. Some local competition, Plus 60, they're a pretty innovative sort of tech company from Brisbane. They're doing a very similar product to us. And then we've got some other hardware players in Victoria. The exciting thing about them is, so through technology now and open APIs, they've actually gone from being competitors to actually, hang on, we can really strengthen both of our offerings here. So we're in discussions with them, and another partnership with Flinders University to try and actually facilitate all of that. Roadmap, so university stuff. Universities has been fantastic for us. We've really leverage that as much as we can, and the resources that QT has been able to provide. And then now that we're kind of understanding how the university model works, able to leverage that into different states as well, which is particularly exciting for us. We took on some investment last year out of a group from a family office from Dubai. So they're excited to see how this sort of technology is adopted here in Australia, and then looking at how we can move that into the Middle East. And awards, things that we've done. International opportunities, so Japan, obviously with their ageing population. We've done a fair bit of work with SoftBank Robotics and their Pepper robot. So looking at social robotics, that's been interesting. I think it's still very early days for social robotics, especially here in Australia. So we've sort of put that one on a bit of a side burner. Perhaps when the technology improves a bit more, and looking at a bit more adoption from the consumers as well. There was really a lot of pushback, especially in the villages from staff. Again, looking at so we bring the Pepper in, and unions were nearly knocking on our door for that one. So moved on from the robotics, but and then looking at further afield, licensing the tech out to Europe and the US as well. So we've been quite successful with grants. We've raised a bit of funding last year, which is spurring us on, and we're looking to do another big raise this year. So we'll be looking locally and also into the Middle East again. So that's starting to gear up onto that campaign now. So any kind of advice and support into how that works, then we're open to that as well. And Conpago, so that's us. So if you've got any questions, check in. Thanks, Troy. Cheers.
Just a couple of things to your capital raise. Just want to make sure you're aware that the business development fund.
Yes. So we'll be looking to tap into that, I think. Yep. Yeah. As a way to sort of spur on a bit more investment.
So the Business Development Fund, for those unaware, it's an $80 million fund that the state government has. They co-invest with a lead investor. So say, for example, you do raise, even if it's the existing family office in Dubai, they wanted to put in, $750,000, they'll match up to that amount. As long as you're a Queensland-based business, which you are, your investment can come from fundamentally anywhere. So the value for the co-investor is there's a call option so that they can actually buy out the co-investor could buy out the state government. Say, for example, 3 years' time, you've gone gangbusters. Yeah, your share price 10x your share price. Well, the co-investor can buy out the state government at buy-in price plus CPI. So it's a really good
good
initiative.
Motivator.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing I was going to suggest is eluding me, but it was off the back of that as well. So funding, I can't remember, it'll come back to me. Any questions for Marley? Any comments?
That's cool.
Yeah, who's doing all your app development? I see a lot of-
So we're developing it all in-house. So we started off, so I'm actually civil engineering and business is my background. My co-founder was an architect. So neither of us really had any kind of app experience. But we've learned a lot over the last couple of years. We started off with a development team in Indonesia. So sort of the early stage development was done there because we found it was really difficult for us to find developers here in Australia to start with. It wasn't until we kind of had some traction and they had a bit of structure that they felt confident to kind of come on board. So, and then during that we've transitioned from having 4 developers in Indonesia to now having 4 developers here in Australia, and they're all in our office at QUT. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say is our current Office of the Chief Entrepreneur, big on scale, so it'd be worth grabbing her ear to see if you can get a conversation with her, given your international ambitions this year. Yeah, for sure. Man, that's awesome. Any other questions before we let him go? Nope.
This is kind of a random question.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'll just let it rip. So I think I just was kind of like flagging in my mind because I'm thinking about like the epidemic of like Alzheimer's and dementia and trying to think is it incorporated?
It will be once we do our
it can.
Yeah, that's right. So we're
It's like such a massive.
Yeah, no, it is, and that's where. So we see something like this as a simple, really cost-effective way to get a smart device into homes that otherwise wouldn't have one.
Yep.
And then through that, we can start offering other services. So, we're looking at brain training, something like MigFit, as add-ons into this system. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, what you're doing is amazing, and it's so important. So you have no idea. You'll save our country. Seriously, because what I see happening when I went into retirement villages, and I see it in my own family, people stop doing things.
Yeah.
And when you understand how the brain works, it's like you could have little brain videos too, and because you have to actually physically push yourself to do new things. And as you get older, if you haven't been used to doing that,
Exactly.
then you actually just start dropping off things because you think, I'm 70, I shouldn't do this anymore, when actually it's quite the opposite.
Yep.
The brain really needs a lot of novel experiences, and that's how you keep those synapses going, So I like the fact that you said that, like...
The goal setting and
Why shouldn't they have purpose at 95?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and if you get to 95, you probably do have some purpose.
Yeah, you do.
It's the ones that 75 that are suffering and 85 that don't have the purpose. Yeah, you won't make it that far otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just got so much potential.
Yeah.
In that space that you're talking about, and you could get grants in that space too. So if it's something that you're interested in working with us on, around the early dementia thing,
Yeah.
I think that
Absolutely.
That's a big opportunity.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
So it wasn't a bad question.
No, good question.
Well done.
Yeah. Transtech.
Cool.
And thanks for introducing me to that too.
Can I say one thing? So you actually go around the fact that what I saw in the retirement villages, people didn't like the mobile phones, they want to have cheap plans and all of that. So you go around it by designing that kind of device. So that device sits inside their rooms.
It'll sit, so just in the home, So
And how much is that? And retirement villages are going to maybe put it as part of their infrastructure?
Yeah, so with the newer villages, it's a lot easier. They're talking to us and how it becomes a part of the package. You buy a home there, and you get the device. With existing villages, it's more difficult. That's where we've come up with that's why I've built and just an app download.
Yeah.
So there is.
That's a good idea because the technology is changing so rapidly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there's been others.
Do a leasing thing as well.
Yeah, leasing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of how we've modelled it. So
Do
it's
you know the Village Retirement Group?
the village. Yeah, I do know the village. I haven't spoken to them though.
I know the CEO there.
Okay.
So they're very wanting cutting edge in their
Yep.
head.
Yep.
And they're about, I think there's 6 or 7 around Brisbane.
Yeah.
And my ex-in-laws are there.
Okay.
But they funded my first launch of my app.
Right.
And so they're looking for cutting edge. They're all looking to be a bit ahead of their competition.
Yep.
So that'd be something I can try and
Awesome.
put you in touch.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, can't promise anything.
No. I mean, a warm introduction is huge, because that's what we as a big learning for us actually in the early days. Because let's start cold calling. You know, we've got this amazing piece of technology and we're incredible. You know, we're going to change the world, and just bang, the wall hit you. And
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, like, just with B2C, like, if you think of the end users or consumers, often with aging population, we just assume they're going to be really risk adverse and not wanting to do the technology, depending on what they're dealing with illness-wise or whatever. But actually, the fact that you said it's more the staff being institutionalised or whatever in their surroundings, it's kind of like to break.
You do, yeah, because a lot of these people, they've done amazing things.
Probably quite open to it.
Yeah. I mean, they've all diverse backgrounds from all over the place. Yeah.
They're just conditioned.
Yeah.
Choosing your mark, though, I guess if you get it at the top and then it filters down.
that's right.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, let's give you a round of applause. Well done, mate. Thank you.